Hi, this is Mon Rasz and you are listening to my Daily Thoughts number 17. Today's reflections are about departure. In the moment of death, what happens? For the Zen Buddhists, it's an utmost important event when the spiritual body separates from the physical one. Can we imagine it like an out-of-body experience, with the exception that the spirit won't reunite with the body again? The film Flatliners or Ghost can give you a pretty good picture of that situation. A lot of talk is going on in terms of what the spirit itself consists of. Most would agree it's like a form of energy that emits some light and that can stay in a certain shape, sometimes in the shape of the former body. From a physical point of view, this is somewhat difficult to imagine that a form of energy, any form of free-flowing energy, stays in a certain shape or form. This would require some form of container to do that, or at least an interaction between the individual elements of that energy, a sort of self-organization. Or perhaps it is a pattern in a 3D spiritual field. And once the spirit separates from the body, what would the spirit take with it? If we give credit to the compelling past life reports, the being's, or rather human being's, memory would be taken by the spirit, along with maybe the spiritual achievements and learning experiences. One interesting point is why we can apparently see things being out of body, but not so much or not at all hear and smell, according to those who had that experience. This is a real interesting point. Hear and smell requires a medium to travel, light not. Teleport you mentally in outer space and the only information you can receive is from light. You can't hear, speak or smell in space, but you would feel the heat or cold though. For instance, if you would not be equipped with built-in ear speakers, you could not listen to my audio, even if I would be floating in space right next to you and trying to scream the words to you. I would need to communicate the information by way of hand signals, pictures or telepathy, unless my eyes could not only receive light but also send out light. Isn't that strange that we can send out and receive sounds? That we can send out and receive scents, but it seems that we can only receive light, unable to send it. Except maybe that we actually can send out something with our eyes or brain, like when we are sometimes getting a strange feeling when we look in someone's eyes or someone looks on our neck from behind. Those who had an OOBE, an out-of-body experience, can describe in pictures what they have seen, and they most often mention how peaceful that situation was. No noise at all, complete quietness and tranquility. So attractive that they often don't want to get back in their body. Exactly that happened to a friend of mine who was telling his out-of-body experience during an almost deadly car accident, when his car was thrown off a bridge and landed on the highway below. In this state, he was looking at his car and body from floating above, but he couldn't record any noises. There are some who argue the out-of-body experience is an illusion made up by the brain. But could we not object that if the brain is making up something, why would it exclude noise and smell then? The spirit is, per our definition, bodiless and has no organs such as eyes, ears and nose. As mentioned earlier, ears and nose need the air as medium to receive information, so we could explain to some degree the noise and smellless OOBE scenes. But why can the spirit see? It doesn't come with eyes, does it? How else can we see without eyes? Think about those cases where blindfolded people can drive cars. Maybe the electromagnetic waves can help us out here. Did you know that when radio waves leave the sending tower to provide coverage for the surrounding area, that they report something back to the sender? You can compare this to electricity that is sent through electric lines. the power company can measure how much energy is being used by the consumer. The same way the radio station, can measure if there are little or many listeners. A lot of listeners require more power from the sending unit. Sounds strange at first, but that's how it is. The way the sent-out waves are received at the destination have an impact on the sender. Could we apply this effect also to the spirit that has left the body? Out-of-body experiences report that they are pulled back into the body. This means that the spirit, the I think so I am entity that was detached from the body, experiences a force that pulls it back into the body, comparable to the force that occurs to the water in a full sink when the drain is opened. Or imagine the spirit being the radio station that creates and sends out content, and that there are no listeners, and one of a sudden a lot of listeners, here its body with all the organs, would tune back in and suck up most of the waves the spirit sends. This could create a pulling sensation and action from the sender's point of view. If the spirit is sending out waves, they might also be received by other spirits, what would be considered as telepathy, an ability that, if used by the blindfolded driver, could explain his accident-free ride. Let's develop this situation a little bit further, and I build on session number 7, time. There is the material world with its limitations of speed, which is light speed. As of today, nothing that has matter can exceed light speed, no matter how much energy for acceleration one uses. And then there is the world of electromagnetic fields and waves, that without further ado happily travel the universe at light speed and, compared to time on Earth, don't age one bit. Is this how we can picture departure, past life and rebirth, that the spiritual entity leaves the material world with its memories, achievements and learning experiences, and kind of unites with the spiritual field for a while, until there is a chance for further development in form of rebirth in another body? Perhaps the brain is nothing more than a docking station for the spirit, to provide the power and resources in order to achieve further development of the spiritual wave, so to speak. But going back to the question how come that we can see and to a lesser extent hear and smell while having an OOBE, the explanation that our spirit might be connected via a cord to our body wouldn't stand to two objections. The first one being that the images we see are not from our body's viewpoint, since in most cases we are floating above the scene. And second, there is the fact that blind people can also see during OOBE. How is that to explain? The situation that would fit most of the OOBE reports is, as a matter of fact, the one of the 3D spiritual field within which our spirit or soul lives. A world that we are thrown back to temporarily in this life under extreme circumstances, and a world we enter in afterlife until we have a chance to be reborn. And last but not least, a world that we can discover and experience through meditation, regression and prayer. For today, I thank you for your time. May the higher spirit help us evolve. Until the next daily thoughts, yours truly, Mon Rasz. And today's post-lectum is: imagine a prayer being an offering of energy from the material world to the spiritual one, which includes a picture of the desired future.